too fast to outrun. A twister takes lives and flattens everything in its path in the rural southern Illinois town of Harrisburg.
We've lost children, we've lost loved ones, we've lost part of our family here in this community.
Another tornado stops the music in Branson, Missouri, turning the Midwest mecca of tourism and entertainment into a war zone.
That we don't give up, that we help those who have been devastated.
Tonight, a pledge to help families and business owners rebuild as looters try to cash in on the devastation. Path of destruction. At least 9 people were killed, hundreds of others injured as tornadoes swept across the Midwest overnight. From Kansas to Kentucky, crews spent today searching for survivors. The worst hit southern Illinois. I am Mike Bush in Harrisburg, Illinois, about 130 miles southeast of St. Louis, and we are in an area, the Walmart parking lot in Harrisburg, which was hit hard by this EF4 tornado that killed 6 people. Now the Walmart, you can't see it, is behind the camera. It was heavily damaged, but nothing like this strip mall behind me where a cash store, a sporting goods store, and a game store were all completely destroyed. Now here's a look at the death toll across Missouri and Illinois. Going west to east, there is also 1 dead in Cassville, Buffalo, and Puxico, then across the Mississippi. Again, 6 here in Harrisburg, Illinois. That's 4 women and 2 men. We have live team coverage tonight of the tornadoes that hit during what's supposed to be winter. There's supposed to be snow on the ground and not funnels in the sky. Let's begin with Casey Nolan. Casey?
That's right, Mike. Those trying to survive this storm had a couple of things working against them, both the time of day and the time of year this tornado hit. It's hard to tell by looking at it, but Country Club Hills is one of the luckier neighborhoods hit by Wednesday's EF4. While the tornado claimed 6 lives across Harrisburg, no one here was even hurt. Hard to believe, say neighbors, with the twister's timing catching many off guard.
People have said it lasted 32 seconds, but it seemed like it was 32 minutes.
With no basement, Linda Sims and her husband rode out the storm in a closet.
You don't know when you hear that sound of that tornado coming over if you're going to make it or not. It goes through your mind that maybe this is it.
Usually prepared for tornado season, Sims says she never expected this kind of weather in February. Her weather radio still packed away.
I had not gotten it out yet for the year. I had put it away for the winter.
Most of the mess is this way. This is all of our living room.
One of the few homes with a basement, Sherry Chrisman lost just about all of the rest of her home.
This would not have been good.
With the tornado touching down around 5 a.m., she and her daughter would have slept where it struck if not for her husband working the overnight shift.
And he called and said, the truck drivers are saying it's really bad. You need to turn on the TV. Get up, turn on the TV. It was the tremendous pressure on my ears and just the atmosphere. Heavy, heavy pressure, and then the roar.
And then sunrise revealing just how much was lost and spared.
Hunkered down with our heads buried in our laps, And I said to him, I said, Gerald, I love you. We've had a wonderful life. And then it hit, but we made it. And we have a lot to be thankful for here on the corner.
And Mike, that one house with the one basement is the only house in the neighborhood in that immediate area with a basement. Most of the folks tell us that they were actually in a bathtub with nothing more than a pillow to protect them.
And we've been saying this storm had very bad timing, coming in overnight while people were asleep. On the other hand, if you look behind us, if these people had been in business and in these buildings when this tornado hit, it could have been very devastating.
Exactly. The timing kept some people safe as well.
Right. All right, Casey, thanks very much. Now, there was a curfew tonight in those devastated areas from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They're trying to keep out gawkers and sightseers and especially looters. But it was not effective for everybody. News Channel 5's Courtney Guzman reports.
Melissa Dowdy is packed up and ready to go.
The house is not livable at the moment. We're not sure if it will be.
So Dowdy grabbed everything that's meaningful to her and her 2 sons and is headed to stay with family. While this mother was picking up the pieces from this morning's tornado, she tells me she encountered some strange requests.
We've had some people come asking about scrap and things you had in the house that was broke, or so we've just kind of sent them off, had the cops get rid of them.
She suspects these people were potential looters, even asking to come inside her home to look around.
We just took everything out of the house, so they want to come in, they're not getting anything but broken glass.
I'm trying to keep people from stealing my grandfather's stuff.
Just a few blocks away, Rachel Milligan took a post on Commercial Road for most of the afternoon, watching over what used to be her grandfather's storage facility. This business sits right next door to a senior center where Milligan says she's seen people looting.
Yes,
Today?
in the daylight. In straight daylight, there's no stopping them.
As the dark took over the day, police made their rounds in these devastated neighborhoods, trying to prevent these victims from becoming victims again.
People have been through enough, and they don't need people stealing their stuff.
So obviously the name of the game tonight for many of these residents who had homes that were damaged was to collect as many things as possible, get out of Dodge before the sun set and before that 6 o'clock curfew tonight. And I can tell you the Saline County State's Attorney is saying that anyone who is found looting tonight or here on out will be prosecuted to the fullest extent.
And one of the first places the police went to was right here, because behind us is a cash store that was completely destroyed. All right, thanks very much, Courtney. Well, it's been a terrible day, obviously, for the residents here in Harrisburg, and no one has been busier than the mayor of Harrisburg. And Eric Gregg told me earlier today what he witnessed as the storm came in.
You know, unfortunately, this morning when I heard the sirens going off and I came outside to see what was going on and kind of assess the sky with my own eyes, you know, unfortunately, it became very, very quiet, and just an eerie feeling came over me that there's something bad happening, and unfortunately, it came to pass.
But one thing the mayor did mention was the outpouring of support from residents, from nearby towns, even from strangers. Now, hundreds of families are staying with relatives tonight, but a few people found themselves with no place to go. The First Baptist Church set up a shelter offering food, clothing, and a warm bed for families displaced by the tornado. Angela Capps and her 3 children are without power tonight after a very scary morning.
Life flight helicopters flying over, rescue teams all around you. You just can't really think of it. It's almost unimaginable. It's scary.
I came out of my house and it was like almost like an apocalypse had hit. That's the best way I can describe it. That's the way my teenage son described it. He said it just looked like everything stopped existing.
The Red Cross helped set up that shelter, and the Salvation Army is also offering people a place to stay tonight. Governor Pat Quinn made a disaster declaration which will make recovery resources available for those affected areas of Saline County.
It's very, very important that we understand that anytime this bad thing happens from nature, that we don't give up, that we help those who have been devastated by this natural disaster, that we come together and we rebuild.
Now, Governor Quinn told me he also has surveyed the storm damage and met people who lost their homes in the tornado. The governor says President Barack Obama called to offer his support after waking up to news of a disaster in his home state. Donations started pouring in early this morning at the First Baptist Church in downtown Harrisburg. Bottled water, food, and clothing, anything people can think of to help their neighbors in need.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see the outpouring of love and support from the community, and not just Harrisburg, but from everywhere. I mean, look around all the donations that we've got here, it's just overwhelming.
So here's how you can help storm victims. A volunteer hotline is set up in Harrisburg and surrounding communities. That number to call is 618-252-3732. You can also find a list of organizations taking donations as they work to provide help to storm victims. Just head to our website, KSDK.com. You'll find it in our special coverage and don't miss sections. The National Weather Service has confirmed that the heavy damage in the southwestern Missouri town of Branson was caused by a 22-mile-long EF2 tornado. No one died, but it did tear apart homes and businesses. Here's an aerial view of the city's entertainment strip, where hotels and theaters are damaged. The majority of the storm damage centered around the historic downtown area and Branson Landing. The Branson Airport was unaffected by the storms, and flights are departing and arriving with no delays. Major attractions such as Silver Dollar City, Sight and Sound Theater, they were not damaged and they remain open. So let's continue our team coverage tonight and go to Branson, Missouri, and check in with News Channel 5's Mike Rush. Mike?
Mike, there is a curfew in effect here in Branson along the strip where most of the hotels and the theaters and the shops are. That's because the EF2 tornado came through here about an 8 or 9 mile stretch and caused a lot of damage in this area. There are no reports of deaths, which is good news. There are reports of about 30 or so injuries, but those are considered to be minor or moderate injuries. Let me show you the randomness of this storm. Over here you see this souvenir shop where it looks like the roof just basically slid off of the structure into the parking lot, but then you come next door over here at the Waffle and Pancake House, and it appears to be untouched. Now there's damage that's spotty in different areas here along the strip, and it also spills out into some of the neighborhoods as well. Huge scraps of twisted metal nearly met Pauline Scharf at her front door. The material from a nearby business helped to black out her neighborhood.
Well, I'm glad that it didn't get any closer to the house. Yeah. It could have done a lot more damage. I have a little bit of damage to the car, but not much.
For this young family, a double whammy. Recently evicted from their home, they were staying in a motel that was hit.
Trying to get my kids to a place where there's electric and water.
The EF2 tornado seemed to hopscotch along the theaters and attractions that made this mid-America city a tourism mecca. Andy Williams Theater almost untouched, while others heavily damaged. This isn't the kind of show that you would expect to see in Branson.
No, not at all.
This was supposed to be a last getaway for this couple before he heads off to basic training. Instead,
it sounded like the whole hotel was going to fall down. It was really windy and it was moving and it was just scary.
And we were hoping to go to the Ripley's Believe It or Not one this morning, but I think that's closed now.
And closed in this town is bad.
I'm a songwriter, singer. I like jokes, but there's not many jokes right today.
Because the punchline, as long as the strip is empty, means missed paychecks.
Everybody in this town, in one way or another, is connected to this show business.
And to that end, the city of Branson is getting the word out that the city is still open and there are still attractions. They have a Facebook page dedicated to letting people know when shows are. And also, they put out a press release to the media and to the community to let people know these type of statistics. Like, of the 50 theaters that are here, only 5 or 6 of them are damaged. Of the 200 hotels, only about 15 of those are damaged. So the message they want to get out tonight is that the show must go on. Mike?
Mike, thanks. Governor Jay Nixon, he mobilized the Missouri National Guard to help local law enforcement in Branson. The governor visited the area ravaged by that EF2 tornado.
This is a lot of damage. The insurance issues here, the property damage issues here are going to be significant, but the bottom line is Joplin is going to be a real sounding board for everybody else across our state, that you can rebuild, that you will rebuild, that you're going to stay calm during that. We're going to keep the rule of law. The bottom line is we are confident that Branson will be back bigger and better than ever.
Now let's take a look at the damage left behind in Buffalo. The victim who died here was in a mobile home park when the tornado came through. Friends say she was a mother of 3. About a dozen others in Buffalo were injured. You can find a list of organizations taking donations as they work to help storm victims. Just head to our website at ksdk.com. You'll find it in our special coverage and don't miss sections. And we may not be done with storms. Let's check in with Cindy Pressler and Mike Roberts in the First Alert Weather Center. Cindy?
Mike, it looks like Thursday night into Friday, we are going to see at least a risk of severe thunderstorms again. It's because the clash of the air masses, so the main threat will become damaging winds and the possibility of tornadoes. Here's the reason why. Again, we go into that wedge, warm air wedge, southwesterly winds. Temperatures will be very mild overnight Thursday night. Upper level winds, there's your energy. You get into that track where here comes the cold front. Temperatures make it into the lower 60s on Friday. Showers and storms developing because of all the lift and all the turbulence in the atmosphere. Slight risk develops across southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois. That'll move mainly into Illinois as we head into Friday, just southeast of the St. Louis area. So you really want to keep an eye to the sky. And it looks like we've already gone into severe weather season. So there are a few things that you might want to have in your severe weather kit. Shoes, sounds unusual, doesn't it? But it's a good idea. A helmet because debris, protect your head. Gloves, if you have to tear things apart, there might be damage, debris laying around that you want to pull apart. NOAA weather radio. This is a NOAA weather radio. I've talked about this over and over and over. This is the way you can get these warnings, these alerts overnight, which is so important. That's when most of the deaths occur. This will sound off automatically if a warning is issued in your area, so you don't even have to be monitoring the situation. This will do it for you. You can pick these up at electronics stores, Radio Shack, for instance. This one happens to be a Midland weather radio. Also a flashlight. You want to have one of those. So again, stay alert. We're already into severe weather season. It's something to think about. Mike?
All right, Cindy, thanks very much. Still ahead on News Channel 5 at 10, whipping flames. The major battle firefighters were fighting against the weather here in the St. Louis area. And our tornado coverage continues. Here's a look at more of the damage from Harrisburg, Illinois. Before the storm hit in Illinois and Missouri, it did all of this damage in Harveyville, Kansas, about 50 miles west of Topeka. A view from the sky really gives you an idea of just how much of that small town is damaged. Hard to believe when you look at that. No one was killed, but 11 people were hurt. 40 to 60% of the town is severely damaged. And take a look at this tornado caught on video. A storm spotter caught this funnel cloud on tape about 140 miles away from where you just saw that damage in Harveyville. You can hear the rain, see the lightning, and see that fast-moving funnel cloud. A tornado caused extensive damage in parts of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, damaging several homes in Hardin County. The storm ripped the roofs of a number of trailers at a mobile home park and caused extensive damage to a trucking company. Authorities say at least one person suffered minor injuries. We're still waiting to see if a tornado was responsible for the damage in Phelps County. Strong winds ripped the front off the Conoco gas station at Highway 63 in Edgar Springs. The owner says the station was closed and no one was inside. The Edgar Springs police chief says 6 buildings in town were damaged. The St. Louis area missed the big punch of the storms, but high winds did cause some damage. Power lines fell across some lanes of Interstate 270 and St. Charles Rock Road in Bridgeton. The lanes were shut down for a few hours, but were clear by the morning rush. And those high winds fanned the flames of an apartment complex in Lake St. Louis, and while no one was injured, 16 units were destroyed. News Channel 5's Ann Rubin has the dramatic video.
Fire investigators think it started in this area, but with winds gusting at 23 miles per hour, it quickly spread.
This is freaking me out.
Residents Justin Polite and Lindsay Foth captured this video as the fire tore through the Camden Cedar Lakes apartments.
About a 30-foot ball of fire in the off the roof, yeah.
And it was halfway towards our apartment complex because the way the wind was blowing, and it was all black puff smoke.
And while police quickly evacuated all the units, firefighters tried to get the flames under control. It took 6 or 7 tries to knock it down, and though there were firewalls between the buildings, the winds made them all but irrelevant.
That was a wind-driven event. I don't know that it went through it as it went up and over it.
It was weird just watching it, and you can't do anything, and they're trying.
Lisa Oddie watched her apartment burn, fearing her pets were inside. Amazingly, firefighters found them alive.
They went and knocked on my door, and he heard my dog bark, and the guy's like, no way, that dog's not dead. And there was my dog and cat.
Don Henderson's dog, Minnie Mouse, was rescued too.
Maybe a couple minutes ago, the firefighters just brought her out, and so she's okay.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. 16 units were destroyed. 8 more had possible smoke damage. Still, residents are relieved everyone made it out.
Everybody's just shocked. I mean, we just can't. We haven't even registered that we don't have any place to stay tonight. We're not even there yet.
The Red Cross and the apartment complex are working together. They say they should be able to house all the victims of this fire in other vacant units. In Lake St. Louis, Ann Rubin, News Channel 5.
Mother Nature is a study in contrast. A beautiful sunny day, but only after a devastating tornado. So what's ahead? Cindy rejoins us from the First Alert Weather Center.
Mike, that wind today was incredible, and we did have some power outages here in the St. Louis area. Some power lines, some tree limbs did fall down because look at our wind gusts. This is from St. Louis Lambert Airport. You can see the timeline throughout the day. Really picked up in the afternoon. Maximum sustained winds, mostly in the 20 to 30, and then we got some gusts as high as 58 miles per hour. Wow, that is something, and that will bring down power lines and tree limbs. Now those gusts are really starting to back off. Sun has set now, so temperatures are falling. You don't get that big contrast in the temperatures anymore. So now winds are down to about 26 mile per hour gusts in Pittsfield, down to 21 mile per hour gusts in the Chesterfield area. It's really backed off to the west, so the winds will continue to die overnight as our temperatures drop into the upper 30s. Wow, that's going to be a difference. Here's our satellite loop, and we do have a little bit of cloud cover north, but mostly clear skies here. But look what's going on out on the east coast. This is still a line of thunderstorms. This is the same system that came through here last night, dropped all those tornadoes, produced winds up to 75 miles per hour and some hail, but you notice we have no more tornado watches. There's one little warning there, and that's really about it. So conditions have weakened. It's not favorable anymore to have that kind of weather that we had last night. We're talking about wind shear. That's what's necessary in order for tornadoes to develop, and there was plenty of it yesterday across southwestern Missouri. Mike, you're in the Severe Weather Center. Explain wind shear, what that is, and why it's so necessary to have this kind of weather.
Well, first, it's caused by the difference between surface winds and winds aloft. This right here, this very bad arrow that I've made, these are surface winds, and yesterday, essentially, they were coming at us from the south. These are winds aloft. These winds here were basically coming out of the west-southwest. Yesterday, when we had storms reach heights of 46,000 feet, well, the difference between the south wind and the winds aloft that were out of the west was almost 90 degrees. And because of that difference, this column of air, actually every updraft inside every one of these thunderstorms began to rotate. Several did. And really, that's the reason, this shear, that's the reason that we had so many reports of tornadoes. Now, the possibility exists that we could see a very similar situation, Cindy, develop all over again tomorrow.
Yeah, can you believe it? More of the same type of thing. If we take a look at our modeling, tomorrow's going to be a very nice day, lots of sunshine. This is ahead of the next storm system. Warm front comes through. Here comes the moisture again out of the Gulf of Mexico, so that will be available. Winds blowing out of the south, at least at the surface. You're going to get more of a westerly component with winds aloft, so once again, we're setting up that shear environment. Clash of the air masses, much colder air moves in behind it. So again, by tomorrow night into Friday, we will be looking to the sky and watching for the possibility of severe weather. Right now it's 52 degrees. The dew point is 28. West-northwesterly winds starting to die down. High today was 68 degrees. Low is the current temperature, 52. And since midnight, St. Louis Lambert has picked up 3/100ths of an inch of rainfall. Rest of tonight, not bad at all. Clear skies, a low of 38 degrees. West winds at 10 to 15. And then tomorrow, mostly sunny on your Thursday. Highs in the mid-60s. Winds at this time will be out of the south at 5 to 10, but those winds will start picking up by tomorrow night and into Friday. Showers and thunderstorms, highs in the lower 60s. Saturday, a little cooler, 50 degrees. By Sunday, a chance for sprinkles or snow flurries. Next chance for rain again comes in by Wednesday. Mike?
Cindy, thanks. Still ahead, a call to duty.
I consider journalism a service profession. I really do. We're performing a public service. But it had really all been for me.
And I'll bring you the story of the St. Louis area native who gave up his job as a news anchor to join the Army. Why he's a little scared now that he's back on the air. But first, some more images of storm damage from Branson. The 19-year-old mother of a newborn found in an Ellisville yard is behind bars tonight. Norton turned herself in at St. Louis County Police Department this morning. A neighbor found the baby boy under a tree on February 16th. He was wrapped in towels with his umbilical cord still attached. He survived despite being outside for about 2 hours. The flu is taking its toll on a pair of St. Louis schools. St. Gabriel the Archangel is shutting down for the next 2 days to give students and teachers a chance to get better and to disinfect the school. The principal says more than 80 students called in sick today with symptoms such as coughing, headache, and fever. The second grade class was half empty today. Nearby St. Raphael, the Archangel, was closed today and will also be shut down tomorrow for the flu as well. A local news anchor in Springfield, Missouri was very busy today with the storms, and he is just back on the job for the first time in 5 years. This Mizzou grad never wanted to be anything else but a journalist. But in tonight's Making a Difference report, you can meet a reporter who gave up his calling for a call to duty.
You're like living the dream.
Nobody ever accused Jerry Jacob
Thank you.
You're a professional.
of being a shrinking violet.
Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. Which way are we going now?
An anchor reporter for KY3 Television in Springfield, Missouri.
Hey, Nanster. Hey, what's up?
He's a large presence in a media market.
All right. Hey, Brad.
Well, he was always looking for the story that nobody else was seeing.
I've got mail.
He says it's a little strange to be back in a newsroom.
Mi amiga.
Though he's been in one for 2 decades.
It's so good to see you.
This is his first day back in 5 years.
I consider journalism a service profession. I really do. We're performing a public service. But it had really all been for me.
So in 2007, just after the Army raised its age requirements, the 41-year-old Jacob traded in his makeup bag for a duffel bag and joined.
You better know what you're doing, and you better do it.
To the surprise of just about no one.
Everybody gets oxygen, right?
If you really knew him, it'd be, actually, I can see you doing that.
He's always reaching for more. He's always looking for that next adrenaline high.
Stay still for this lady.
This is, after all, a man who has not only climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, he says once on a dare he drove cross-country to every state in the Union in a week. But in the aftermath of 9/11, it was actually his job as a reporter that made him want to leave it for a while.
In the news business, we're covering the wars, we're covering the deployments, we're covering the injuries, the deaths.
And months later, Jacob wasn't covering it, he was living it as a medic in Iraq.
I'm a medic, and so I do what medics do, and that is, stop the bleeding, restore the breathing, and package them and get them on their way to the next echelon of care.
Like many veterans, he's reluctant to talk about the things he saw during his 3 deployments, including one to Afghanistan. He will say his most challenging assignment was to Haiti, shortly after the devastating earthquake.
It wasn't tactical. I wasn't getting shot at, or no one was trying to kill me. But as far as a medic, I saw more wounded and injured, in 2 days than you'd see, in an entire deployment. So there's your typical medevac chopper.
A few weeks ago, after 5 years of serving his country, he decided it was time again to serve his community. A job was waiting for him at KY3, and so was the woman he loved.
I'm very thankful that he came home uninjured. There's so many that did not.
Though he's been to Iraq, Haiti, and Afghanistan, Jerry Jacob says there is one thing that still makes him nervous: coming back to work.
I don't know if I'm ready to face the public.
As it turned out, it was as if...
Howdy. Hey, brother. I'm back.
He never left.
It's not he's coming back to work, he's coming back to the family.
Well, he can expect a lot of love because everybody here really appreciates what he did.
It's not a good day when you turn on your TV station's website and your name's on the front.
A career is best measured not in experience, but in experiences. Sometimes 5 years away from a job can make you better at it.
I'll have perspective that I wouldn't have had if 5 years had passed and I'd have stayed in the anchor seat.
Even now, that anchor chair will likely need a seatbelt. Jerry Jacob, one man whose love for adventure is only exceeded by his love of country.
It's going to be a big thrill for him to be back.
Jerry Jacob, by the way, was born in Illinois, but he was raised in Missouri, first in South St. Louis and then in St. Genevieve, where he's a graduate of Valley High School. And a reminder, if you know of an exceptional story of someone making a difference, let me know personally at mbush@ksdk.com. We'll be right back with sports. But first, some pictures coming to us from Buffalo, Missouri.